joining in, Vineet. We do understand that the Americans are perhaps not wanting a lot of Indians to go work there on H1-B visa. So what do you think is the kind of impact that you would have as a company? And how much of a probability do you assign to this actually going ahead and becoming a law?
Well, firstly, that it will become a law is anyone's guess. But if I was to make a guess, I don't think it will happen in Obama's administration. And then it is up for grabs. What happens later? Who comes into the Senate at that point of time? Whether it's a Republican or Democrats. That's one. And number two, I think all IT companies have reconciled themselves to the fact that increasingly they will have to employ locals. We are already doing that in the U.S., but not only in the U.S., we are doing that in Europe, we are doing it in Australia. So I really believe that that is the way to go. Will it have impact on the margins? Perhaps yes. But we will still remain in business. And I'd much rather be in business than I wonder about 1 or 2 points in the profit margins. Okay. That is the way we will go. That is the way we need to go. And even otherwise, if you look at any multinational, and ultimately we shouldn't call ourselves purely Indian companies, we are as much multinational as any other. All multinational has local staff.
Okay, so you don't see this proposal being a law, at least under the Obama administration. And yes, there would be some margin impact, but you will still be, you and the Indian IT industry will still be in business. How much of a hit would this figure of 15,000 lower H1B visas be?
It won't make much of a difference, but because, I mean, look at 15,000. What is that compared to all the number of Indians who are working on H1B visa in the U.S.? And even if it comes down, you'll hire there locally.
And therefore, if you could just quantify roughly what could be the margin impact if, you know, say an IT company had to hire more local employees?
I don't see, because you are getting these days IT people who cost us the same. And people we take there, by law, we are required to give them a certain level of wages at a certain level of competency. So this is a worry which is overstated. I think the world has moved, and more importantly, we have moved with the world.
All right, but how much of weightage would you assign to the 50-50 rule that they will bar companies that employ more than 50% from hiring any other H1B visas, H1B employees, if more than half of their employees are already H1B visa holders?
That's right. There's a lot of H1B visas, and if push comes to shove, some of them will come back, Indians, and we'll have local people there.
And how much could that hit be for you all?
It's hard to talk about percentages because I believe that this law will not see the light of day as things are, as the momentum is. So and if it does, I mean, it will cause us a bit of rearrangement, but by no means will it be a disaster.
Currently, what proportion of your employees are H1B visa holders in the US?
I don't have the exact figure, and that is indicative of the fact that it's not a major worry for us. But I think it's about 8,000 to 10,000.
Okay, for Tech Mahindra. So apart from increased local hiring and maybe a margin impact, what could be the other implications of this H1B visa bill?
Well, I suspect we'll do more work offshore also.
Okay.
But IT companies are facing much bigger challenges in changing their paradigm to automation, to digitization. Those are the real worries to me, not H1B visas.
Okay, Mr. Nair, we'll leave it at that. Thanks so much for joining in. Mr. Ganesh Natarajan of Zensar Technology has also been patiently waiting by. Thank you, Mr. Natarajan, for taking the time out and speaking with us. Your initial reaction to this H1B visa bill, which is proposed in the Senate, what could be the impact on the Indian IT industry?
See, right now, let me make 2 points. One is, it is very unlikely that this bill will pass through, at least not in the current Obama administration. But I think what it points to is a much larger issue that we will all contend with over the next 3 to 4 years. This is a low GDP growth across all sectors, including in the US, and you will find more and more protectionism happening. So I think we all have to be prepared for an environment where we do a lot of automation, we employ locally as much as possible, and ensure that we have a balanced workforce. So I don't think it's going to substantially change the cost because, as I think Vineet was saying, the cost of a good employee in the US is not substantially higher than the cost of sending somebody on an H1, especially in states like California, etc. So it's just a question of balancing our recruitment, making sure that we see ourselves as truly global companies. And this trend we must read, irrespective of whether this bill gets passed in the current year or not.
Okay. Mr. Natarajan, just stay on. We're also joined by Mr. R. Chandrasekhar of NASSCOM. Good afternoon, sir. Appreciate you joining us on CNBC TV 18. How would you comment to the H1-B visa bill, which is proposed in the Senate? And a couple of our earlier speakers indicated that the margin impact would, not be there. Would you concur?
Well, first and foremost, I think we are seeing a general trend of different kinds of restrictive measures being proposed at different points in time. And I think this is a larger backdrop and a larger trend line that we have to recognize and deal with. In terms of the actual impact, I think we also need to keep in mind that the need for such high-skilled workers to go on the visas arises because of a shortage of skilled workers in the U.S. Otherwise, it would not have been necessary at all. So I think that, this is something which we have to watch closely, see how these bills progress, and then put across our point of view. But a reduction of a certain number is, that by itself is not a major issue. The main question is in terms of what final configuration results and how we deal with the rising trend of protectionist measures that are coming up at different locations.
Mr. Chandrasekhar, would India Inc. and the IT industry lobby against this?
Well, I think we have very consistently been putting across our point of view, both directly with the government in the U.S. and through our government here, which has also been taking up these issues with the U.S. Government. And this is certainly something that we will be following very closely, because it's certainly a very, very important dimension as far as the industry is concerned. And it does have a significant impact on the industry. So changes in this area in terms of the numbers, in terms of the various terms and conditions